Welcome back, my friend. I'm super glad that you're here because we are going to be doing a meal prep. And I don't know about you, but after, a couple of weeks in January, I start to kind of lose steam when I'm trying to get back to my healthy living. And that's actually a thing called Quitter's Day. Have you heard of this? The company Strava did a study and they realized that a lot of people quit whatever it is they've decided to do that's healthy in the first Friday, by the second Friday in January. So that's not gonna be you and me. We're gonna do a healthy meal prep today so that we can stay on track. If this is your first time here, my name is Robyn. We are doing some simple living with wholesome food with room for cookies, but there will be no cookies today because I don't know about you, but I had a lot of cookies over the holidays. So let's get started on our chicken. Okay, so this, I've added lemon juice, olive oil, salt, and Italian seasoning, or oregano works great. Any kind of herb from the Mediterranean, of course. So I'm also going to add some freeze-dried garlic because I'm just that lazy at this moment. It's just going to, what I did when I did this garlic initially was I threw it in the food processor. So some of the chunks are a little bit bigger, but it's very easy to just crumble them up because it's freeze-dried. And they will rehydrate really well because this is going to sit for several hours. Now, the other sad thing is that I am out of Ziplocs. I need to go and get some very soon. So I'm going to very carefully use this bag and put it in a dish so that if it spills, it doesn't get all over my vegetables because that would be terrible. So we're gonna pop the chicken in here, pour the marinade in, forgot pepper, and then just pop it in the fridge because sometimes quite often I like to just let this sit overnight, but there was just no need today, so I wasn't gonna worry about that. So I'm just going to just let it sit for an hour or so while I make the rest of the ingredients. I'm gonna take off my ring because we don't need a gross dirty ring while we're doing this. No, thank you. And I'm gonna put that in the bag. So let's talk a little bit about Quitter's Day. Now on my other channel, which is called Minimalist Home, where I talk a lot about like decluttering, minimalism, all of that. A lot of people, they come to me at the beginning of January and they're excited. They're like, I'm gonna declutter my house, but then they quickly lose steam. And I bet you can relate to this. I certainly can. And even like right after Christmas, I was like, I'm gonna get all healthy. I'm gonna eat all healthy. And then the next thing I know, I was like, maybe I will go into the freezer and grab a couple cookies. And then I just was like, no, like you have a goal to get back on track, just to eat healthier. As a woman who's 45, it is harder to maintain my figure. And to be healthy overall. Like I will tell you more about that. Pour this in. The marinade does not have to be a lot. We only need enough to just coat it all, which this is harder when it's not a Ziploc, but it's okay. We will make do. Are you the type of person that is like, I will remember that. I don't need to put it on the grocery list. And then you don't remember it. That would be me. I don't know why I ever tried to rely on myself. This is like my whole thing. I have like a whole business around making systems, and yet every now and then I think, hey, I can rely on my brain. Okay, I'm just gonna plop it in this bowl because I don't want it to spill and put it in the fridge. Another thing that I'm going to make to go with this, because you may notice a bit of a Mediterranean feel, and that is because I am making Mediterranean chicken. But I have my homemade yogurt, which I'm also going to use for the next recipe I'm going to make. But I'm going to make some Taziki. And I just make this yogurt in my Instant Pot. It is super duper good. I have made it before. I will link a recipe. And I'm just putting a little bit of yogurt in the bottom of this dish. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to cheat just a tiny bit. I have some freeze-dried cucumber. You probably don't have freeze-dried cucumber. I freeze-dried this, but let me smell it. Oh, it smells fresh. So if you don't, which is totally understandable, what you want to do is just grind up like a third of an English cucumber or whatever, and put a little bit of salt on it. Like when I say grind it up, shred it up, put a little bit of salt on it, and then let it sit in a bowl or on a strainer or whatever, or on a coffee filter, paper towel, whatever. And then after an hour or so, squeeze out that excess water and then pop it in your yogurt and you are good to go. I literally just at the end of the garden season had so much stuff left over that I was just like, I'm actually going to add a tiny bit of liquid from this yogurt, which I know is kind of gross. It's already kind of thick. I like my yogurt thick. I'm going to add some salt and I'm going to add some lemon juice and some garlic. I'm not using the freeze-dried garlic because I don't trust it to kind of like disperse in there well enough. So I actually have some still leftover garlic from the summer, so it starts to shrink a little bit, but we're going to take this little puppy out, cut off this little bad part. You don't need a ton of garlic, otherwise it's going to be very garlicky to the point where it's unpleasant, in my opinion. So I'm just going to squeeze this little bit of garlic in, scrape that off, a little bit of pepper. I did add salt, and that's it. And I mean, really, it's just as easy for you with a cucumber just to shred it. It's no work. I truly just wanted to not waste them. But now we have tzatziki too. Now this, you definitely want it to sit because otherwise it will get very, or it will have like a very sharp garlicky flavor in some parts. So you're gonna want it to sit in the fridge, mellow for a little bit. So I'm gonna pop a lid on this, put it in the fridge. I am also going to re-vacuum seal my cucumber because I don't use it all the time and this will help it stay fresh longer. Okay, now the next thing is something I have been missing so much. I'm going to make some more of my granola. I ran out of granola 3 days ago. It was the longest 3 days of my life. So we are quickly going to make more granola. And the first thing we need to do is use our leg to open this drawer. All right, grab out a baking sheet. I'm gonna grab one of my parchment papers. I love this pre-cut parchment paper because I just reach into a drawer and pull it out like it's magic. And I will link that below. So I'm just gonna make a small batch today because I have another recipe I wanna try and I don't wanna have too much. So I'm going to do 3 cups of oats, and I'm gonna put this in the description below. Now in the fall, I made a delicious brown butter one, but actually I'm gonna do 2 pans. But today we're doing coconut. Now the thing about, now normally I have everything decanted into these beautiful jars. I don't know what happened with my life where I didn't get that done, but clearly I fell off of that, that wagon, bus, truck. Anyway, so there we go. I'm gonna do this, and now we're just gonna toast these quickly. We're also going to toast a little bit of coconut. Today, instead of butter, we're going to use coconut oil. Now, a lot of people think coconut oil is like super healthy. It's not. But when I have this granola every day, I literally only have a tiny bit, like a couple of tablespoons on like this little breakfast sort of yogurt thing that I make that I will show you later. So what we're gonna do is toast that. I'm gonna grab some coconut, then we're gonna melt a little bit of coconut oil along with some maple syrup. You can also use honey or whatever. I've tried it with brown sugar. I think the problem was I didn't dissolve it well enough, but I'm not doing that today. So I'm just gonna go grab my coconut. I have got that oven at 325 and this only needs like 5 minutes. You will burn your coconut if you do it longer than that. I am speaking from experience here, my friend. So I'm gonna plop this in here, do about 1/3 of the cup. So not, obviously not that important that we get that right since I'm measuring it into a 1 cup measure on the lid of a coconut oil container. So there we go. Just a little bit. Maybe I'll do a bit more. I mean, I love coconut. I just love it. There we go. And the recipe will be on the blog. I'm just gonna plop this in here, literally for 5 minutes. I'm just perching it on another one, aren't I silly? Okay, 5 minutes, start. I have to use timers for so many things in my life, or I'm gonna forget. Okay, so let's melt this oil. My little tiny cute little baby frying pan, because we're only doing 1/3 of a cup of oil and 1/3 of a cup of maple syrup. And do you say syrup or syrup? In my house, I don't know what I say. And you're probably like, well, you just said syrup. So that's what you say. But I actually don't know if that's true. It's just that I've been influenced by my husband and my children having this debate so much that I literally don't even know what I'm saying. Okay, let's do this. 1/3 of a cup. This is, it's like very not great for your arteries. I know people think it's so good. Apparently not. I don't know. So, and you know me, I'm all about health. That's my thing. I'm a nurse, if you didn't know it. I'm a registered nurse. I could look up the studies, but I'm not going to today. So we're going to put this right there and just melt it. And also we're going to measure our maple syrup. And if you, I don't know if in the US what your maple syrup looks like, but ours, most of us get it from Costco if we have a Costco. My friend Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch, she uses the same one. So there we go. Okay, I'm gonna put that there, let it sit while I melt the coconut oil, and then, so just gonna go ahead, pull out coconut. It's already starting to brown. I'm gonna put it right there. I'm gonna close this up. And this is just going to toast for like another 50. Just like that, it took like 2 minutes to melt it. Now it's nice and translucent and melted, and it adds a lot of good flavor though, okay? I'm just saying. Now, what we're gonna do is chop up our cashews. I always do some kind of nut. Macadamia nuts are so good. But today we're doing cashews. This is my other cutting board. I have one for fruit, bread, and sweet things. And we do not obviously want our granola tasting like garlic. So I have got, these are actually raw cashews, which is great. So we're gonna put in about 1/2 cup of nuts. And they are going to get toasted with the rest of the granola. So I'm gonna chop these up real quick. And then when the oats are done, we'll just combine everything, mix it all together. You'll see it's going to be just like magical and delicious. There we go. Okay, the next thing I really want to get going is my falafel. So falafel, if you haven't had it, is so good. And it's made with chickpeas. I'm actually gonna go ahead and pour my syrup in so I don't spill it while we wait for the other stuff to cook, because the falafel needs to sit in the fridge for like 1/2 hour or an hour before I actually start with it. So I'm going to, I don't need to take off my ring, just naturally. I'm always like, I put it on the same spot. Have you ever taken off your ring when you're cooking and then you lose your ring? I lose things all the time, so that's not good. Anyway, I'm gonna get out my food processor, I'll plop it right here, and then we're gonna get started on the falafel. I misread my own recipe. So my granola is kind of brown on the bottom one here, but that's okay. So I did 325. It should be 300 for the initial toasting. You see? But that's a lot of good flavor there. I'm not gonna complain, but didn't need to cook as long. So I think what I'll do is quickly mix this up and then do the falafel, because why not? We're just getting everything done so that the rest of the week is easy to cook and stuff. I got my big bowl and I'm going to try not to burn myself. I burn myself from time to time, but usually it has to do with our wood stove. Anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead. Oh gosh. That would have been more graceful if it wasn't like hot and I wasn't afraid of burning myself. So we don't add the, okay, that took a long time. Okay, don't add the coconut in until later. I'm gonna take this, and what we are going to do is quite often I add seeds. I'm not today. I'm literally just making like the easiest one with just like the cashew. And I'm going to probably add some cranberries. If I had some other dried fruit, I would add that. Have you ever had dried blueberries? They are super duper delicious. So they would be really good too. I'm gonna get my spatula here. Does anybody else have kids that put away the dishes? So I'm just gonna mix this up real nice right here. Plop this here. Gotta check the camera angles. Just going to pour that over top. I think if I cook it together on the stove, usually the sugar will combine a little bit with the oil, but it doesn't really matter because once we put it in here, it's all good. And now I'm going to add a tiny bit of salt and some cinnamon. Now remember, don't add in your coconut yet, or it will burn. Now don't add too much salt either, or it will be too salty. Just adding 1/4 teaspoon. Since I didn't use butter, actually when you clarify the butter, quite often the salt sort of leaves it too, as well as the milk solids. So.
And sometimes I actually add my cinnamon in later. The taste is almost better, but not today.
Now I'm gonna just put this back on my cookie sheets. That is definitely nice and toasty though from before. Of course I chose the smallest spatula I have. Oh, Robyn, you are funny. Okay.
Using this spatula for some reason just reminded me, in reverse, I guess, of when people were for a while using like a little doll hand to do things in their kitchen. And I mean, this is the opposite, but it's just looks so weird.
And then we'll pop it in the oven. Okay, back to the falafel. Now, in this falafel recipe, we put in a small onion. Now, because I am lazy today and doing a big old meal prep, I'm going to actually do some freeze-dried onion. I am going to chop it a tiny bit. That's about 1/3 cup, or 3/4 cup I did. And also lots of garlic, like 6 to 7 cloves. Maybe more if you like it. But I am going to do a little quick pre-chop with my food processor. Then we're going to add the rest of the stuff. That's laziness for you. Honestly, you just go ahead and add your, I'm just going to take a picture from my blog. Add your regular onion. Actually, I also only have like a few tiny onions left for my garden. And they are so small and so fiddly and annoying to deal with that that's partially why I'm doing that right now. Now I'm gonna rinse off my chickpeas. So these chickpeas have been soaking since last night with a little bit of baking soda. It just is so much better. Okay, you didn't see any of that. But it is just so much better than using canned ones. These ones will hold together so much better. So I've rinsed them. I'm not gonna go crazy though, since I did just use a bunch of freeze-dried ingredients. And if it's a little dry, I can always add a bit of water. So I'm going to tip that in there. Whoop. And then we're going to add the rest of the stuff. Okay, I'm going to start with a tablespoon of flour, like just throwing it all in. Tablespoon of flour. I'm going to add a whole lot of salt. And I'm gonna add a whole lot of pepper. Oh wait, I do have some still in my coffee grinder. I like to have some pre-ground, but this coffee grinder is so inconsistent that it still leaves some whole kernels. But I was like, you know, I think with these falafels, they should get ground up enough. And even if not, it's just for my family and we all can handle a little bit of pepper. So a tablespoon of pepper. Just got pepper everywhere. I don't think it's bad luck to spill pepper, so we're good. I am not adding cinnamon. That would not be good. And I'm going to add some cumin, which I love. A little cross-contamination with cumin and pepper is fine, but not with cinnamon. And now I'm going to add another couple fun ingredients here. So they are more freeze-dried things, but if you wanted, you could use dried, regular dried, or fresh. Now, we want some dill here, fresh dill. This is freeze-dried dill. It does smell better than like actual, like the kind of dill you buy at the store, except for I have left some stems in, which is no bueno, but that's okay. So I'm gonna add in some of that. It's gonna be so good. Oh my gosh, I love dill. And we're going to add in a lot of parsley. Now my parsley is actually carrot tops and they're also freeze-dried. But you would add a cup of fresh parsley, and that'll be good. But carrot tops and parsley, they're very similar. Grab my cilantro, and I have freeze-dried cilantro. This is partially why I got my freeze dryer, which I bought myself. They did not give it to me. And I left a bunch of stems in. But it was to save, just to have stuff on hand so that I don't need to stress whenever I'm cooking. Like I have all of these things in my pantry, but you can buy them at the store. And part of the reason why also was I was like, well, it is January, so we don't have a ton of that stuff. And then I think I'm gonna add a little bit of lemon. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of smoked paprika because I just love the flavor. And no, and I'm going to add a dash of cayenne. And like I said, just a tiny bit of lemon, just a tiny bit. Okay, now I'm just going to grind it up, and if I need to, I can add a dash of water. A tiny bit more, but it's gonna be so tasty. Actually, no, what did I want to do? I wanted to stir it, because some of the stuff on the bottom is just... This is really good deep fried, but I am going to bake a few to have later in the week. And then tonight, I'm going to fry some. So what I'll do is I'll show you me baking it now, and then I will show footage of me frying it after. You know what? I think we need just like a tablespoon of water. Use my son's Mickey hand. I'm gonna go switch my pans. Perfect. Okay, now it's gonna sit in the fridge. I'm not even gonna bother getting out another bowl. I'm just gonna put it in as it is. So I forgot that I wanted to cut my chicken up, and I'm gonna do that a bit right now. I just like, with chicken breast, it is just so easy to make it dry. And this is just sort of like to have for 1 or 2 dinners or a lunch or something. I don't even like to back myself into a corner because I just like to have the options. So I'm heating up my pan here, and I'm going to take the chicken out. Now, ideally, you would cut it before you marinate it, because then that would just be like even better flavor. But I'm just going to do it now. And try not to get it on my arm or my wrist, my watch, ew. And then we're going to add olive oil to the pan. I love cooking with butter, but since I'm just going to completely do these on the pan and not in the oven at all, quite often I will do it in the on the pan initially just to brown it, and then I pop it in the oven, but I'm not going to today. I feel like when it has its skin, that's when that works best. So I'm just gonna try to get these like about the same size. That's why some of them I'm kind of like doing a second oblong kind of cut. And this is so handy to have. I've got 3 teenagers, although one of them doesn't live here. He lives at university. But when he comes home, and I think he's actually coming home in 2 days, so that'll be nice for us to have, and nice for me just to not have to worry about cooking. I mean, I love cooking, but I don't like cooking when I'm busy. Okay. So I got that. We're going to be frying in batches. Woo! So we're going to be frying in batches. I'm going to just add a little bit of oil to the pan. Spread it around a tiny bit.
And just placing this in, I will often season it too.
And I think I'm going to get another pan going because I'm just impatient like that. Maybe even 2 more. I don't love using my nonstick pan, but I think I will. It's my husband and my kids' favorite pan. I'd rather clean 2 more pans than wait. That's how impatient I am. And I know I shouldn't keep my oil near the stove. It's actually usually up in the cupboard. That is there right now. And we fill it out, like we go through it pretty regular. All right, now I'm going to take out the granola while those heat up and that cooks. I'm going to add more salt and pepper to that. Oh my goodness, doesn't that look so good? Yum.
sometimes I just do a voiceover when I am cooking on the stove because like the sound of the sizzling and the fan are kind of loud. But I use this as an opportunity to just add some more salt and pepper to the chicken and just getting it frying up. And like I said, like so many times I have crowded the pan, and this is not just for meat, this is for vegetables too. If you want to brown things, not crowding it is a good thing, because otherwise you're going to steam the food and it won't get as yummy and brown. And right there I'm just showing you carrots that are from my garden that I asked my husband to go out and grab. They're just so big, so thick in particular, and I still have some in there. We are on Vancouver Island where it is such a warm winter. I mean, it doesn't usually get like super duper freezing, usually very much until later January and into February. But this year, it has been so warm at the beginning of January. It has been between 5 to 10 degrees Celsius in the daytime, which I can't remember what that is in Fahrenheit. I think like 50s or something, but it's just warm. So it's a great place to keep your carrots in the ground. I actually have been thinking just today when I was driving my kids to school, I was like, when am I going to harvest those carrots? And it's going to be messy. It's not something I'm looking forward to. And I also am like, it's going to be dirty. Do I want to freeze dry them? Do I want to can them? Do I want to freeze them? Ultimately, I think freezing them would be the best nutritionally. I mean, freeze drying is the best nutritionally, but reconstituting them, I just don't know if it would go as well. So that's just a little story about garden carrots and the decisions I have to make. And here I am fighting my quote nonstick pan.
Goodness, that pan, like non-stick. Huh, not non-stick. I might have carrot in my teeth. Okay, last 2 pieces of chicken. And I'm going to set this aside. Now we are going to finish off the granola. And then we're going to, actually, I'm going to heat my little toaster oven here. We're going to, excuse me, I always get the hiccups whenever I eat carrots. I'm going to, thinking of air frying, but I'm just going to convection bake. This has an air fry option, which I almost never use. You really want to let your granola sit so that it gets in chunks. So we're gonna pop it in the bowl and then add the rest of the ingredients. I know you're not here to see me, so there we go. See how that's big and chunky? That's what we want. So it'll break up into bigger chunks. I like the chunks. My husband doesn't, but you can break up chunks better than you can make new chunks. There you go. That's a life lesson right there. Now we're gonna add the coconut, yum yum. And I'm gonna put in some craisins. And like I said, any kind of dried fruit is good. And then we'll just mix it up. And then I'm going to just store this in a jar, and they last for a really long time, especially if you do the vacuum seal thing, but I don't need to in this case. I do not. I'll try a bite. Oh, let me see. I want to get a little bit of cashew, a little bit of granola, or I mean coconut and cranberry. Okay. Not graceful. So good. Yum, 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 yum. Before I close the door to my dirty pantry, let's do some falafel. Now I'm only going to do part of it, and we do add a tiny bit of baking soda in the end. So what I'm going to do is just mix it on here. Take off my ring. Nobody needs a messy ring. Oh, this is kind of fun. And then we're just going to, you can make them into balls. You can make them into little, like, not balls, like little pellets. I don't know. I don't know what to call them. There we go. I'm going to do that. I'm going to move my camera so you can see a little bit better.
I just shake my head at myself sometimes, the random ways I'm trying to save dishes. But this did work, and these are very fragile before you cook them, but then they are strong as can be when they are done.
Very easy to do it in this sort of like hand squeezy shape. I don't know what to call it. But they're so good deep fried though. But I want to show you the healthier modality of cooking. A little crumbly. So I think I might add a bit more flour before I do the deep frying because I don't want it to come apart. That would be terrible. Adding a bit more flour was the way to go. That was much easier. There we go. So it's not pretty because I mixed it on here. I don't know why I do this, like when I'm like, oh, I don't want to like use a bowl. So instead I just do this. It doesn't look pretty, but I mean, I really did save some space. Now I'm just going to do a spritz of avocado oil. And I mean, ideally your pan would already have oil on it. I don't know. I'm tired. It doesn't matter. It's food for later in the week. Who cares about food for later in the week? Okay, we're gonna pop this in here. Flip it. And it's gonna be so good. Okay, time to flip these over. Oh, that's so good. Oh, I can't wait to eat them. They're holding together pretty well. Okie doke, I'm so excited. Where's my thingy? There it is. Okay, let's get out these falafels. They look really good. They look really good. Look at them. I'm gonna put it down here. I'm also gonna try a bite of my chicken. And I'm going to explain to you how I will use all of this stuff for the rest of the week and like things that I will pair it with. But let's try this. I love how lemony. I love that Mediterranean chicken. Okay. So I'm gonna grab a knife. I've got some hummus. I'm not gonna make hummus if I already got it. And then we're gonna chat about how I will pair all of this food. It's good. It's a little drier when you do it this way, I think, versus the frying. But I will show the frying in a minute. I love tzatziki sauce. It's perfect. Yum, yum. All right.
So later that night, I ended up deep frying the rest of the falafel for dinner. My husband and I were just, they're so good. They're so nutty. They're so crunchy. They're good baked, but deep fried, it just can't be beat. And actually, like, they were good as leftovers later in the week too. So I would highly, highly recommend it. And then mixed with or paired with the hummus and the tzatziki, all of those flavors together, so fresh, so nice in January. And then I just went ahead and took that delicious coconutty, crunchy granola and very ungracefully struggled impatiently to put it in the jar. And I always just laugh at myself because I'm like, no, I'm going to pour it in. And inevitably, I just make such a mess. But whatever. It's very easy to clean up granola.
So first things first, let's talk about the chicken. So I always have washed greens ready to go. Quite often you've seen me washing lettuce. This is kale. I did this weeks ago and it stays fresh for so long if you just vacuum seal it in a jar. So what I can do is I can use this kale along with the tzatziki sauce or with some of my homemade yogurt, and I can add in my chicken. I can also use like salsa. I could use all sorts of other things. Because this is like a Mediterranean based chicken, it would be very easy to make it taste like Mexican or even like, perhaps like Asian or whatever, because there is lemon in it. Although, you know, like whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a very mild flavor that you can make fancy. And I really like to do that. I love to have a lot of bowls. And at the end, actually, I'm going to link my chicken salad that I did with this particular recipe. So that is how I will use the chicken. So my point in showing you these greens is just that a lot of meal prep can be done even like weeks ahead of time, which is really, really handy. And that's the same with this granola. Like I could be eating this next week, and I will be because we finally have it again. I'm so happy. But I don't need to make it next week. I can make something else, which is really handy. So how I would have this is I would have some yogurt. Then I will add maybe some protein powder because I love protein powder. It's very handy. I will add blueberries, I will add raspberries, and I will add on just a tiny bit, like literally a couple tablespoons of this adds a shocking crunch. And I'm gonna show you what else I put on it. I also put on a little tablespoon of chia seeds. It's so good. These thicken things like crazy. And I also add this stuff, which is called Daily Cleanse. It's just super high in fiber. Don't read too much into the name, but it's got like ground up flax seeds and a few other things. Super tasty. I add this to my smoothies. I put it in that. So all of that together makes a really, really good breakfast. Now let's go over here to the falafels. Okay, so for the falafels, I could make a bowl out of this. I could add cucumber, but I'm out of cucumber right now, so I won't worry about that. I could chop up one of these more or not, whatever. They could all be in the same bowl. My little falafels, which I'm also gonna deep fry tonight. You've probably seen that video by now. And then I would add some hummus and some tzatziki. All of this together can make multiple meals. Like I can use the carrots with the chicken. I could do with this kale, I could add some eggs. Like all of this little bit of meal prep together, and it has taken me less than, well, and I'm filming, so it's taken me like 2.5 hours, but it would have taken me less time than that. So really, it's all very, very simple. Check out this video here. This is the salad that I was talking about where I use that Mediterranean chicken. The dressing is amazing. All of the recipes are linked below. I'd love it if you would like this video and hit subscribe. Make sure you grab that download so you can help your own meal plan and prep. Stay cozy. I hope something great happens for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.